Ms. Sahle Work Swed, President of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, Chair of the International Commission of the Future of Education, Mr. Julius Maadabao, President of Sierra Leone, Co-Chair of the SDG 4 High-Level Steering Committee, Madame Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO, Kerisha Aurora, Youth Representative for SDG 4 High-Level Steering Committee. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, UNESCO Constitution, adopted in 1945, stated education as indispensable for the dignity of every woman and man, and a duty that all nations must fulfill in a spirit of mutual assistance and concern. Today, we are gathered here in this house, the House of Peace, as reminded us Madame Azoulay, to renew our commitment to advance education as a human right and a fundamental force for positive transformation. We have to do it now because the situation has never been more urgent at a time when the whole world is still fighting against a pandemic and continues to face other serious challenges such as armed conflict and climate change. The sanitary crisis exposed social fragilities and inequalities between and within countries, as well as exacerbated the gender and knowledge divides. This is why we need more than ever a new social contract, as has been said here several times, anchored in human rights, as proposed by the United Nations, our common agenda, spearheaded by the Secretary General Antonio Guterres. A positive future is not viable without harnessing the power of education as a common good. But we still have great obstacles ahead of us. Stronger political will and policies are needed to reverse this trend and boost education as a force for recovery. Financial solutions must be found to tackle these rising challenges. According to the Global Education Monitoring Report, 70% of countries allocate less than 4% of their gross domestic product to education. We need to leverage new ways of financing education, as we know that public expenditure is not always sufficient. We must bring on board all actors, international donors, private sector, and civil society, to put education at the heart of all recovery efforts. We also need to strengthen resilience based on justice and equity while preserving the environment for generations to come. Much work remains to be done to be the promise of the 2030 agenda of leaving no one behind. 258 million of children and young people of the world are still out of the school. Girls bear the greatest burden, as it is foreseen that 11 million of girls might not return to the benches of the school after the pandemic. And at the same time, around 770 million adults still don't have basic literacy skills. More than ever, we must improve access to education. We must equip every woman and man, especially the most vulnerable, with competencies to act as a responsible citizens and knowledge workers to become lifelong learners. The current education needs are vast, and it is not possible anymore to respond using old standards. New digital technologies are connecting individuals as ever before and have become essential for creativity and sharing of knowledge. We must build on existing good practices and scale up innovative methods and tools that have been used in the education ecosystem. Evidence reveals that a large majority of teachers across countries remain open to adopt new approaches and shifting priorities in the future. Yesterday, we also heard the voice of young people on how to translate creative ideas into practice with meaningful impact for society. Mrs. Kenisha has also just reminded us the importance of including youth perspective in the decision-making process. It is in this spirit that this pre-summit will be an opportunity to see where we stand and to start defining the new path forward, working locally, tackle global issues. Ladies and gentlemen, for 75 years, UNESCO has been at the forefront line of all efforts to promote universal access to education, to support member states in the adoption of innovative approaches. The Ford report and in the 1996 Delors report shaped new holistic vision of education. The recently launched Futures of Education initiative and the leadership of the UN System for Sustainable Development Goal 4 reveals once again how successfully UNESCO coordinates ideas and actions. Our organization embodies the solidarity we need for lasting and sustainable peace, engaging developing countries, emerging countries, and in developed countries, and in particular, small island developing countries. This was proven during the pandemic when the support from UNESCO was quickly mobilized to ensure the continuity of learning across the world through the Global Education Cooperation Mechanism. UNESCO has been a privileged platform to mobilize international cooperation, including North-South-South cooperation, as demonstrated the leadership assumed by different member states of the thematic action tracks and the remarkable contribution to the SDG4 high-level steering committee to this summit. This positive movement must be reinforced as we define the transforming education summit outcomes that will also be followed by the high-level steering committee in its capacity as apex body of the SDG4 coordination. Ladies and gentlemen, a renewed multilateralism is needed and is becoming imperative to support countries in the promotion of educational opportunities for all, including adults, and to anticipate the challenge to come. This pre-summit is the kickoff of a collective and extraordinary process that must be ambitious and people-centered if we wish to transform the world for the better. Inclusion and ownership are fundamental, as the solution does not lie only with institutions. It comes from people, from every human being. As the Brazilian educator and philosopher Paulo Freire once said, and I quote, "Education does not transform the world. Education changes people, and people change the world." Obrigado. Thank you.